Hey guys, today I want to talk about how to fix a negative budget. You know, I've been getting a few emails. I think I got like 3 of them, 2 or 3. And the guys were mentioning that they live down in Dumagetti, and things are starting to catch up with them a little bit on their budgets, especially a few of the rents have gone up down there. And they've been asking me about moving to my area to fix their budget, actually. And I was asking them some of the food prices that they're paying down there in comparison to here at Western, for Western foods, Western restaurants. It is a little bit higher down there from what I'm seeing, from what they're telling me. I'm going off strictly what they're telling me. I would say our area, although some prices are going up on homes around here, there's still a dime a dozen to catch those ones that are fairly cheap. But you got to look around, okay? And when you find them, you got to lock them down. That's the thing. You got to be quick, just like that. I mean, you guys have seen Kenny's house, you've seen Darren's house, you've seen Nathan's house, and you've seen a lot of the places that I showed for the different prices. So you guys got kind of like a idea of what we have here, okay? Those are the prices we have here. You can get a bungalow for about $250, $300 here, okay, over at Florida Sun. And we've talked about that. Places like that, it's a little bit high. So some of you guys are saying, well, Steve, geez, I'm on $900 or I'm on $1,000. That kind of takes away a little bit too much money. What about the $80 apartments you have? Okay, $80 apartments are easy to find. Some you can find with AC. They usually go for about $100, okay, already built in. Or sometimes you have to add the AC, which means you're gonna have to, at the lowest, you could probably have one put in, a wall unit, $200-$300, okay, maybe cheaper sometimes. Usually $200 will get you like a little bit less than a horsepower, but it's enough to do the small room that you have. It'll keep it cool. But then they have the split type ones. Now those cost more, but they do a better job and they save electricity. So I say if you have any extra money, throw it towards that, have it installed, and do a long lease or what have you. And that's the way to go. Now, then it will get you into the $80 apartments. Sometimes you can get these brand new. Sometimes it's just a matter of having a coat of paint and a regular toilet put in and a shower, possibly a hot shower, okay? It doesn't cost you that much. A toilet costs you about $100. The hot water units, you can have those anywhere from about $120 to $160 installed, depending on the unit that you buy or whatever. So you have to shop around and try to find them. You go to Ace Hardware or whatever, okay? Then once you move in there, then you're paying the $80 a month, or even in some cases, $60 a month. I seen a house here, a 1-bedroom house down the street. It needed a paint job. It had a huge lot, beautiful little place. It was like a little compound. It was $40. Now, I spoke about that a long time ago. I doubt that would ever go for $40 again. I think it would probably go for like 60 or 80 or maybe even 100 now. And now I don't know if they fixed it up. The people that moved in there took it over, and it looks kind of dumpy now, sadly, but it could have been a very beautiful piece of property. They had some big trees there, mango trees. You could plant a garden there. You could have a blast there. If you did RC control cars, you could be there all day playing with RC control cars, and even copters. You could do drones and stuff like that in there. You could fly them around in there and probably have a lot of fun in there with things like that. You could even probably put a small pool in there if you wanted to. There was that much property. So, you know, it's what you kind of make of these things. You kind of have to make it your own. Now, some guys say, well, why am I going to upgrade somebody else's property? Why? You know, the reason is you're going to upgrade somebody's property is because you're going to live there long term. You're going to get a long-term lease. And, you know, a lot of people are very skeptical about leases over here. They say, you know, you have nothing to fall back on. Yes, you do. If you have a signed document and you take it to the barangay and you start complaining, or you go to a court of law, they're going to uphold that. There's a lot of false talk out there that people can't get anything done because they're an expat and they always favor the Filipino. That's just not true. I've gone to the barangays before and talked to the barangay captains, and I've gotten help before from some of these guys. I spoke with somebody one time about dogs. The guy took care of it in a heartbeat. I got to be honest with you that there's a lot of false information going out there, and there's a lot of negative Nellies out there that they just want to talk crap about the Philippines, and they're not putting out factual information. Does it happen sometimes? Yes, it does. Sometimes things happen, and it happens in a bad way. Is that the majority of the expats over here? No, hell no. It's not. It's just not true. But I want to say this also. Another way to save money is cutting back on food. Now, a lot of you guys that have pre-existing conditions such as diabetes or whatever, or dietary issues, obviously you're not going to be able to change much on your diet, but you can change your diet. So a lot of people, if you go out and walk and you exercise like I do, you can beat diabetes, and you can beat pre-existing diabetes just by walking and exercising and watching your diet. Now here's the problem, okay? If you don't, and it's kind of a problem for people that have pre-existing conditions like diabetes, if you switch to like a rice-based diet, it's gonna mess you up, okay? It's gonna be a cheap diet, okay? And it's gonna help you. But for a guy that doesn't have diabetes, being on a rice/chicken or pork and vegetable diet is gonna be okay. And some people can do that if you're out walking right after you eat that meal. You go out walking for an hour or something like that, you'll be fine. Now, that'll keep your budget in check because you're keeping your food prices way down, okay? So that's another way. Here's another way. A lot of guys, they have cars. They have beaters, or they want to have a car, or they want to have a scooter. And a scooter is not bad. I actually think a scooter is probably a good investment in a lot of ways if you feel safe on it in your area. In my area, would I have a scooter? Hell no. It's dangerous. But I would say this, like I use local, instead of using like a car, I use local transportation most of the time. Lately, I've had a little bit of extra cash in my budget, so I use the rental cars sometimes to go out or do things, or to go over to my friend's house or whatever and stay over there for a couple hours or whatever, watch a movie or something. But, transportation can be cut. That's another place where you can cut. Electricity. A lot of you guys have AC running in your house. You can cut back the electricity at night while you're sleeping, or put it up a little bit. Mine has different settings. It starts off low. It has a setting on there that you can press a button, or you set it somehow, and it will go up in temperature during the night. Now during the night the sun's not shining, so when the room gets down to a certain temperature, it pretty much stays there during the night. Unless you have a window open or your door open or something like that. So even as that thing clicks up, and it clicks up in temperature like 3 or 4 degrees or whatever, 3 degrees Celsius, okay? So it goes up and it saves you electricity because it starts shutting off. Okay, so that's a big bonus in your pocket because AC is big. The other thing is, if you're sitting during the day, I know it gets hot here. I'm hot right now. It's not real hot here, but it's a little bit sticky and humid. We've had drier air the past few days, so it's just a matter of getting used to it for the next couple of days. I think we're heading into like a muggy type weather pattern here now, so I'm just gonna have to kind of get used to it. We've been really blessed the past couple weeks here with dry weather, and I think it's starting to go away now. But you can sit there and you can use a fan if you have to. If you need to cut back that way. Shut off your lights, shut off your outside lights if you don't need them on. Buy lower wattage bulbs. All that stuff is going to pay off long term. It's not going to pay off immediately, like bulbs, things like that. But the economy air conditioning buttons do save. And the main thing about staying comfortable in your house is staying dry, okay? So if let's say the temperature outside is 30 C as an example, okay? And you set it on 28 or 27, it's gonna dry out the house to where you're a little bit comfortable, but every time you open that door, that heat and humidity is gonna come back in the door. So, if you have a fan going in there too, that kind of helps that it keeps the cost down. All that stuff adds to it. But if you have your AC going and you have it set on 21 or 22, and I often do have that happen, but I do have it on economy, so it saves me because it's not using as much juice or something. There's something that it does that helps save. It shuts off more, it cycles a lot less, turns on less. The fan runs constantly, so I feel the air moving in the room. That helps a little bit, but it keeps the temperature down low. And there's something about the Echo where we save about $20 a month. And I notice it on the bill. If I leave it on Echo for the whole month without switching it off, I notice a $20 difference in my bill. Okay, now that's with the split type. So there's another place you can save. Now, some of you guys are saying, well, where else can I save, Steve? What else can I do? There's not really many places in your budget you can save from there on. Your insurance, medical, you can save a little bit by using different doctors, different insurance companies. Pacific Cross Peso plan, they call it something else, but it's not like an American type insurance plan. It's less coverage. You get about 30,000. You can get 10,000, 20,000, and 30,000 coverage, but it's in pesos. Okay, so it's like a $500,000, $1 million, and $1.5 million coverage for a one-time thing. Okay, so you go in the hospital, you get, up to that amount. So that's not bad. Okay, but as we age, and as I age, I know at some point I'm gonna have to have two insurances. Okay, and some of you guys are saying, well, why? Because there's a crossover period where you're gonna get a better insurance or whatever because you're getting older. You know you're gonna get slammed with more bills and you wanna have more coverage. And I would say 65 is about that time. Some people would say younger. If you have pre-existing conditions and issues, heart issues, whatever, then obviously you're gonna wanna really, look at things and assess your situation and say, well, should I get better insurance? Well, maybe you should. But here's the thing. I would switch from the lower cost plan to a higher cost plan at that point. Now, some of you are saying, well, gee, Steve, we're talking about budgets here. Yes. Insurance, though, is the most important thing over here for you to have. And if you cannot afford a good insurance in your late 60s, early 70s, or later, then you probably shouldn't be here because you're covered back home by, Medicare, Medicaid, and all that stuff. So it might not be the place for you to be, and you might think about going home. And for you veterans, you might consider checking into a soldier's home or something like that, because if you're really starting to get sickly, I know we don't want to give up on our normal lives, but there comes a time when you have to say, maybe it's time I ring that bell, just like the SEALs do, the Navy SEALs. And I'm not a Navy SEAL, but I know about that because I've heard about it. And, they ring that bell and they give up. Well, nobody wants to ring that bell, but there is a time in your life when you're going to have to probably ring that bell. And you hit that age and you just say, you know what, I'm going to have to check in someplace. And I hope and pray that you guys have a family around you at that time that can take care of you. And that's key here. And as long as you got a family that loves you and takes care of you, that's important. And that's a good thing to have here. Okay, and that's why I say have those emergency funds and things like that. That's the most important. Okay, your budget's important, but having that emergency fund is probably the biggest, most important thing you can have here. Plus having a burial money to bury you if God forbid something happens, all that you need. So I hope that helps you guys on budgets. I know some of the things we talked about didn't actually builds on your budget, but you have to think about those things, but cutting back on budgets, it is possible, but everybody has different issues. And those issues throw you all over the board, because if you're sickly, it's harder for you to cut back. If you're not sickly and you're healthy, you can surely cut back. And for you guys that are in different sections of the Philippines and you're watching this video, okay, some of you guys are in great spots, and you're telling me you're out in the province and you live in on about $600 or $700 a month, and I know that's totally possible. I realize it, but you live a different life too. Let's face it. But here's the thing, that there are people out there that are living in places like Dumaguete, Cebu, and some other places that are kind of expensive, and they've been contacting me. I've actually had a guy up near the Venice Mall up in Quezon City, and he called me up in Manila actually, and he called me and he was talking to me and he was telling me, Steve, I can't live like this anymore. It's too expensive up here. I want to get out of here. I actually want to go into something smaller, like you talk about, either one of the bungalows or a condo down there for about $250, or even into one of those apartments if it was fixed up, like, you know, expat Kenny's or whatever. I can live like that. I'm a single guy. I just have my girlfriend living with me. You know, what can you do? You know, so I told him what they have here. He says he might come up to this area. So there is hope. You just have to look around. You'll find it. You'll be all set, guys. You know, God bless. Take care. Remember, there's always a way. If there's a will, there's a way you can cut your budget, guys. God bless. Take care.